No person, no American is under some moral obligation to believe everything the government tells you, particularly institutions or agencies that have a long documented, factually documented track record of committing crimes.
Putting these lies out into the world right now. Stop.
20 seconds ago, she was smiling and giggling, and then the MK Ultra set in. Like, Candace Owens was her trigger word, and the MK Ultra set in. Her whole voice changed, her eyes changed, her demeanor changed, everything changed, and she, like, reverts back to her AI, Goislop, Ben Shapiro talking points that were handcrafted for her. You know why Erika Kirk is so upset at Candace Owens right now? For pushing conspiracy theories. By the way, if she's upset with people the biggest conspiracy theory, according to Erika Kirk, is that Charlie Kirk texted people the day before the assassination and said he was going to get killed the next day. But actually, Andrew Colvett, one of the lead executives at TPUSA to this day, is the person that told that firsthand to Candace Owens. So everyone is a conspiracy theorist pusher. Everyone is a crackpot, except for Erika Kirk, right? Who is either lying about the text messages not existing, or the FBI, I guess, swiped them off of Charlie Kirk's phone. I don't know, right? I don't have the phone. Erika Kirk has the phone. Well, listen, what's so odd about all of this is, like, you have Erika Kirk who goes out on this book tour now. And the book tour is about observing Shabbat. As a Christian family observing Shabbat. She, you've seen the clips. She goes out, she says, "Daddy's home, Shabbat Shalom," ignore Charlie Kirk's warning text messages on the phone. And she goes out and she's doing this whole thing. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, am I the only one who finds this a little bit weird? Am I the only one that finds this a bit weird that right before Charlie was assassinated, you had Charlie going to the White House, meeting with Trump and telling him, do not bomb Iran, do not fight Israel's war. And Trump lights into him, completely scorched earth at Charlie Kirk. And Charlie loved Trump, but he sacrificed that relationship in effect just to tell Trump, don't fight Israel's war. He sacrificed the relationship with his donors, billionaire donors that, according to Candace, were prepared to put major packages. We don't know if they ended up doing that, to what degree, how much money they put in, but they were willing to inject over $1 billion into TPUSA. And he effectively was willing to sacrifice that relationship to fight for the truth. The last interview he did with Ben Shapiro, it was entirely dedicated to Charlie questioning the official narratives that have been put out by the Zionists. What about Charlie's letter to Netanyahu? Netanyahu said, well, the trip that we invited him to Israel, and I guess it's never going to happen now. It's so tragic. Well, Charlie actually said he was not going to go on that trip. When Netanyahu first tweeted out that statement that, oh, Charlie can't come to Israel anymore, how tragic, that was like I was the very first person. I reacted to that within 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I said, hold up. Netanyahu, why were you talking to Charlie 3 weeks ago? That's a little bit odd. You're in the middle of 7 wars. Why were you talking to Charlie 3 weeks ago? Why did you invite him on a trip? And what was his response? I personally believe, this is what I said at the time, that Charlie said no. It would have been career suicide for him to go to Israel right now. I mean, even if he wanted to go to Israel, he was smart enough to understand that that was career suicide. That I said that before we even knew all this stuff about this crippling relationship, this collapsing relationship between Charlie and the Zionists. It was just objectively stupid to assume that Charlie was going to go to Israel. That was what I said however many minutes after the shooting took place, and Netanyahu tweeted out that statement. He tweeted out there, he said that, oh, Charlie wrote me this letter. Well, what did the letter say? The letter said, in a nice way, right? We're not going to be your bitch anymore. Charlie Kirk, TPUSA, we are not going to be your bitch anymore. You need to find a different way to get your message across to the American public if that's what you want to do. It's what every country wants to do. They want to win the hearts and minds of the American public. Now, obviously, Charlie's not going to write in a letter to Netanyahu and say, fuck you. You've taken advantage of me. You've threatened me. You've blackmailed me. I think some people expected that to be the letter, but Charlie's writing to Netanyahu, to Israel, the head of state of Israel. Do you, if you were writing a letter to Netanyahu and Netanyahu had the potential to do something horrific to you and you feared that he would do something horrific to you, would you say something like that? Or would you say, hello, sir, respectfully, I'm not going to be doing this anymore. Respectfully, I'm not your bitch anymore. You know, if we're playing with the lives of yourself, your family, being at risk, I think you're going to choose the latter option. I think you're going to choose to try and deal with the issue in the most non-confrontational way and say, we're done. We're done here, but in a non-confrontational way. Explain yourself, right? Which is what Charlie did, objectively. Okay? And now Erika Kirk is going on a book tour, a Shabbat Shalom book tour, saying, Daddy's home, Shabbat Shalom. I just hear that and I'm like, is that normal? Is that normal? Because like I didn't grow up in a super religious household, but Christian household nonetheless, and none of my parents, no one in my family ever came home and said Shabbat Shalom. To me, that would be as foreign as if, you know, your dad came home and he's a Christian and you have a Christian household. Your dad comes home, puts the phone on the table, and he says, Daddy's home, Allah Akbar. Daddy's home, Allah Akbar. Like that would be the equivalent, right? It's as foreign to say that. Arguably less foreign and strange to say that, you know, the relations in these two faiths, than to say Daddy's home, Shabbat Shalom. Daddy's home, Allah Akbar. God is great. You know, it's just Salam Alaikum, Daddy's home, Allah Akbar. That didn't happen. And I don't think the Shabbat Shalom, Daddy's home phone, ignore the text messages on the phone. Charlie Kirk didn't send a text message that he was threatened on the phone. Shabbat Shalom. I don't think that happened. But Erika is now meeting with and doing interviews with alleged Mossad agent. You know, Barry Weiss, the very first episode she does on her new CBS show, she sits down with like a Mossad operative and she's like, so what does Mossad do actually? I don't even know. What does Mossad do? What do you guys do? I think you know what Mossad does. Because it's your first interview of your new show you're having Mossad on.
Why would Erika have somebody record her at her husband's casket? So disturbing.
Well, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I have my theories, but I don't know. I do find it a little bit odd. But what I find a little bit more odd is that she's now doing a press tour with the people that Charlie Kirk was at war with. She's doing a press tour with Barry, what is Mossad? Weiss. Barry Weiss. Assad is a toady, Joe Rogan says. What is a toady? Well, she said, Tulsi Gabbard is an Assad toady, and Joe Rogan says, what is a toady? What does that mean? Barry Weiss says, I don't know. My Mossad handler told me to say it. Oh, here comes the $5 million lawsuit from Barry Weiss now. Just like Alexis Wilkins. All right, let's see what she says here.
The podcaster Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's. At one time, an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies. And she has made...
What's up with the eyes?
Podcaster Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's. At one time, an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of these.
Oh, look, I'm like, you don't want to be the guy that's obviously making fun of a widow, a grieving widow. But the grieving widow is going out on Mossad propaganda shows and doing clearly scripted PR exercises to attack Candace Owens, who I consider to be a truth teller, and attacking and smearing her and basically trying to provoke something against Candace Owens. And at the same time, she's saying that we need forgiveness for Tyler Robinson. Maybe she's so sympathetic to Tyler Robinson and says we all need to forgive Tyler Robinson because she knows Tyler Robinson is the patsy. Anyone ever think about that?
lies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now? Stop.
It's like 20 seconds ago, she was smiling and giggling, and then the MK Ultra set in. Like, Candace Owens was her trigger word, and the MK Ultra set in. Her whole voice changed, her eyes changed, her demeanor changed, everything changed, and she like reverts back to her AI, Goislop, Ben Shapiro talking points that were handcrafted for her. Very weird.
That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop. The podcaster Candace Owens. Okay?
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Now, in reality, why is she upset with Candace Owens? Let's be real here. TPUSA has brought in at least $140 million since the tragedy at Utah Valley University. At least $140 million, okay? So as Erika Kirk is going out on Fox News, Barry Weiss, and saying, Candace Owens is so bad, people are making hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars per live stream talking about Charlie Kirk, trying to get to the bottom of my late husband's murder, heaven forbid. She's got more empathy rather, for Tyler Robinson than half the internet, because half the internet is trying to find the truth about what happened to Charlie Kirk. So I don't know. I just think it's weird. It's like, maybe she's upset because Candace Owens is showing people that TPUSA, even if TPUSA is not in some way, shape, or form responsible or involved with the assassination, let's take them at face value here. There are still some questions about the millions of dollars that were allegedly being funneled into some stock exchange TPUSA thing that Charlie didn't know about. And that lawyer guy or the tax accounting guy, he traced it back to some random parking lot in the middle of Arizona. And there's no business there. There's no definite address there for the actual LLC. And it's all being siphoned off allegedly to this one power player in Arizona state politics. And well, what is that? What is that? And even if you don't believe anything that Candace has said about the conspiracies regarding the assassination, maybe people don't want to keep donating to TPUSA if they see the money is being funneled into something like that,
made
allegedly.
As much money as TPUSA has over Carly's murder.
Well, that's a fact. Candace has not made as much money as TPUSA has over since the tragedy at Utah Valley University. That's just a fact. That's 100% a fact. So I personally believe that's the reason why Erika Kirk is so mad, because she is she is the de jure CEO or whatever, director of TPUSA now. TPUSA is making a lot of money, and she's calling out people for grifting off of this situation. And it's like, no, people are trying to get to the bottom of this. And also, a lot of people just want to stick up for the people who are doing the most right now. Like, when I see the entire internet attack Candace, attack Ian Carroll, and immediately, right, they come out and they did this interview and it's stop. MK Ultra, stop. Candace needs to stop. Immediately, my entire timeline, I don't follow any of these people. I don't engage with any of these Zionists, but immediately on my timeline on Twitter, you immediately see every single Zionist who has cheerleaded the slaughter of 100,000 babies and women and innocent people in Gaza and Lebanon and Iran and Syria and Yemen for the past several years. And they immediately, all in unison, come out and say, well, Candace said she'd stop if Erika Kirk said stop. Go, Candace, you going to stop? Candace, you're going to, they're all attacking her. Okay, Candace said she'd stop if Erika Kirk said she'd stop. That's true. But the investigation since she said that has only become, I don't know, a million times more suspicious. And out of all the questions that Candace has asked, only 0 of them have been answered. And I don't know, it seems as though in the interviews we've seen with Erika Kirk, We've heard a lot more about Shabbat Shalom, Daddy's home, than why there's an Egyptian aircraft following her all around the world. Egyptian registered aircraft, I might add, following her all across the world. Yeah, I think Candace is well within her right to continue pushing. That's just my opinion. And I think all the Zionists who are trying to, rage bait and act like a victimhood right now, I think you guys can go fuck yourselves, actually. That's what I think. You can go cry about it. And you can go cry that everyone's still investigating and trying to figure out what happened. That's my opinion. Dr. Deeb, thank you for the super chat. I don't know why that didn't come up on the screen, but thank you so much. Okay, so Erika Kirk is obviously very upset about people who are grifting, making hundreds, if not thousands of dollars by talking about this investigation. Hence why she went out and gave this very serious speech at Mar-a-Lago as she raised $40 million for TPUSA this week. Take a listen to what she had to say.
It's just unfathomable, but yes, by the end of this year, we'll be hitting $5 billion within all of our accounts, which is incredible. I'm so proud of our team.
Shabbat Shalom, we're hitting 5 million followers. What did she say, 5 billion views?
This year, we'll be hitting $5 billion within all of our accounts.
Wow. Shabbat Shalom, 5 billion. 5 billion. Can you believe it? Give me money, Mar-a-Lago attendees. Candace, stop. Hundreds, thousands of dollars. What's going on?
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have to say it. This right here, what's going on? This is what we call a psychological operation.
He would walk through the door, drop his bags, Daddy's home, take his phone Friday night, Shabbat Shalom.
Tucker gets it. Tucker understands it.
Which is that we should not necessarily trust the FBI. And by the way, why would we? It's not an attack on, the political leadership of it. I know Dan Bongino, for example, for a long time, and like Dan, and don't imagine he would ever.
I'll say I don't like Dan. I don't like Dan Bongino, deputy director of the FBI. Dan has me blocked on Twitter, by the way. Dan used to retweet me when the Russia-Ukraine war was raging, and I would critique the NATO proxy conflict and our involvement in Ukraine. But as soon as, the Israel stuff started to pop off, and I really started to go hard talking every day about Israel and about Gaza and about Iran and about Lebanon, and then immediately Dan Bongino blocks me. I didn't ever attack the guy. Dan Bongino, the guy who said his greatest dream in life is to pursue the security of the state of Israel. Not even kidding. He said that. So yeah, I don't like Dan Bongino.
Ever be involved in intentionally covering up a murder of somebody. I don't believe that. But Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, for that matter, are at the top of the org chart, but this is a huge organization, and parts of it act independently from leadership. That's the nature of bureaucracy. So saying, well, I like Dan Bongino and don't think he would do something wrong on purpose, which is how I feel, doesn't mean that I trust
I do.
the FBI or have to trust the FBI. And again, why would I? If there's one lesson of the last election, the 2024 election, it's that a lot of our biggest systems, our biggest institutions have rot in them, and that needs to be reformed. And as if we needed more proof of it, we learned what a lot of us suspected for years, that January 6th was in effect a setup, and the FBI was key to that setup. And it's still not clear that everyone involved in that setup at the FBI has been fired or punished for that. So no person, no American is under some moral obligation to believe everything the government tells you, particularly institutions or agencies that have a long documented, factually documented track record of committing crimes.
I think that's a good place to wrap up this story. We've got more stories for you, but it's like, let's be real here. The FBI lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. The FBI lied about... Thank you, Mohammed.
Shabbat Shalom.
Allah Akbar. The FBI lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. The FBI lied about Trump Russiagate. The various U.S. health agencies, intelligence agencies, they all lied about what was going on with COVID. The intelligence agencies lied about U.S. involvement in Ukraine. The U.S. intelligence agencies all lied about Israel and the Middle East wars that have been raging. They still do to this day. They all lied about the nature of the conflict in Syria and how the U.S. was trying to put al-Qaeda in power in Syria. Now we see it taking place. We see so many lies taking place just over the past few years. And I'm just, I'm just grazing the surface here. Even in Ukraine, you could go into like 1,000 million things that they lied about within Ukraine alone. But I'm just saying, they lied about January 6th. I'm just saying, it seems like the right wing in this country was very content with the idea of questioning the official narrative, what these agencies had to say. Everyone was fine with that. Everyone was content with that. Everyone understood it was our patriotic duty to actually question these things, to say, hey, I think you're lying. I'm going to call you out on your shit. And suddenly you can't do it. Charlie Kirk, there's all these videos of him talking about, yeah, they lied about JFK. And he explains why and who did it and who benefited from that. Charlie Kirk's talking about COVID, how they lied about that. Charlie Kirk talks about how they lied about Ukraine. Charlie Kirk, in the final days of his life, was sitting down with Ben Shapiro and one by one went through all the major lies about Israel and Gaza. But suddenly, it is unpatriotic. It is borderline illegal. It is criminal. It is disgusting. It is demonic. It is scumbaggish behavior if you do the same thing that Charlie Kirk was doing and asked us all to continue doing right before he passed away. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. Shabbat Shalom, Allah Akbar, Daddy's home. I'm not buying it. And Tucker is 100% right. You don't have to believe what the intelligence agencies tell you. And actually, you're probably a lot better off. You probably have a higher IQ if you actually avoid that practice of believing what Kash Patel or Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, who said, he said, sir, we're going to get into the FBI and we're going to turn the J. Edgar Hoover building into a museum of the deep state the first day I'm elected. Proceed to the day in which Kash Patel gets appointed as director of the FBI. And guess what? FBI, J. Edgar Hoover building, still not a museum of the deep state. Still got a lot of problems at the FBI. And I just happen to believe that as Kash Patel is ordering security details to drive his girlfriend's intoxicated friends home, or as he's having his government jets fly him and his girlfriend to go to wrestling matches, or as he's having his legal network sue on behalf of his girlfriend journalists for, I guess, insinuating that people are saying that she's a Mossad agent, even though they didn't say that. They just posted a random photo of her and Kash Patel together. I really don't believe that this guy is going to get to the bottom of it. I really don't. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.